D, wait for it, delightful.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds? So today I am being joined by my fellow YouTuber and friend, Positronic Hypersonic. Hey, yeah, how you doing today?
Good.
Great. All right, and we are gonna do a review slash discussion about Star Trek Discovery Season 4, or as I like to call it, a nightmare. So before we get started, though, you guys, I just want to say a couple things. First off, if you like what I do here and you enjoy independent content here on YouTube, please consider subscribing to my channel. YouTube is always changing up their algorithm, and small channels like mine and Barry's usually get pushed to the back of the line. So I please ask that you like, share, and subscribe, and I thank you in advance. I also ask that you do this to any small YouTuber out there. I know they would appreciate it, and it helps out with that algorithm. Now, the second thing I just want to talk to Barry. Barry, why don't you go ahead and tell my subscribers a little bit about yourself and your channel.
Okay, well, I have always been, let's use the word geek.
Absolutely.
Yes. As far back as I can remember. And I always wanted to be on TV.
Right.
Which only ever happened because I had a little public access show. I never got past that. But I like to hear myself talk. So
don't we all?
Yes. So I wound up on YouTube during the pandemic. I said, you know what? There's people making money on YouTube. I gotta take a shot at it. So that's how I wound up here.
Right on. And your channel, you do like breakdowns and stuff and reviews and everything.
Right. I try to do, in addition to that, some what I call nerd news. You know, kind of like you do. I do the occasional reaction video. Some gameplay, although I haven't uploaded any of that in a long time, but you know, video game stuff. So it's kind of eclectic, but that's what I do.
Right on. Yeah, no, great stuff. Great stuff. All right. So why don't we go ahead and start talking about Star Trek Discovery Season 4? I wanted to ask you about you personally, like, what is your relationship with Star Trek? Like, where did it start and everything? And then, and you know, all that good stuff.
Right. So I was born in '69, so I'm an old guy. So I missed the original run of Star Trek, like a lot of folks. But I caught it in reruns when I was a kid. Of course, it didn't really hit me the way it hit me later, but I was aware of it. And then, the movies would come out. I liked the movies. I didn't even see Star Trek 2 in the theaters, though. I read the novel, and then I caught it on cable. So I don't know. I guess I was kind of casual then. But by Star Trek 3 and 4, I was, going to the cinema to see them. And then I got into Next Gen. And that's when I really did the deep dive. And I think became a Trekker officially at that point. And then very briefly, I shouldn't say very briefly, it was 10 years. I had a public access show, which was called Star Trek, the Unofficial Fan Club Show. It was all about Star Trek, nothing else. I had the actors on. When I would go to conventions, I interviewed them. And then when Enterprise went off the air, there was no reason to keep that up. So I ended it, but that's sort of my Star Trek relationship.
Right on. Yeah, no, I'm kind of like you. I didn't I didn't start watching Star Trek until Deep Space Nine. But I was like, I want to say I was in elementary school when that came out or whatnot. So, but I loved it. And then I, Voyager after that. Right. And then I did watch Enterprise, but then I had to go back and watch all the rest of them and stuff. And, I loved it. I didn't watch the original series until about a couple of years ago, because I was just like, I'm not into that hokiness. But I'll tell you right now, that original series is so good. The writing on that is top notch. I mean, the special effects isn't that great, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? The times. Okay. So now when it comes to this season of Star Trek Discovery, how does this compare to the rest of the seasons in a scale, for you?
Well, I think the notable thing about this season is that they, at least to a certain extent, they swung wide, you might say, and went outside the box, I think, more than they had before. Although the burn was kind of outside the box. I guess maybe they went a little bit outside the box last season because, we'd never seen a Federation before that didn't have warp drive.
Mm.
So they went a little outside the box there. But I thought this season they swung wide, at least to a degree, by coming up with this species 10C, which is way outside the box compared to anything that Star Trek's really done that I can recall. And I don't know, I think they deserve credit for that, at least, because they could easily have gone much closer to home, another humanoid species, another species within the same galaxy, but they swung wide, as I keep saying, and I thought that was cool. How did it compare other than that?
Like, did you say this is your favorite season? Your least favorite season?
I don't know. They're all pretty meh, I don't know. It's hard to say. They're all just pretty mediocre. It's shades of bad, really and
Right.
truly.
Oh, I agree with there. See, I have to. I say this season sucked. It was awful. I hated it from the beginning to the end. This is the worst season of Discovery. I could not handle it. I was like, oh, you guys broke me. I think I might quit Discovery after this. I was always like, well, I have to watch it. It's Star Trek, but I don't know. I'm like, I don't know if I can watch any more of this garbage.
Yeah.
But we shall see. We shall see. I might. Who doesn't love torture?
Right. Exactly.
Now, when you came into this season, what were you expecting from season 4?
I can't say expecting as much as I want to say I was hoping it would get good or be good. I was glad there was no more of that no warp speed nonsense. So I was looking forward to finally seeing this, what is it, 32nd century Federation with warp speed and more like, the Star Trek universe we're used to, where they can actually communicate across subspace, travel by warp. And I guess we got that, but it, if I had thought about it, I think I would have wanted to see them use that new situation to go back to exploring, but they just stuck with this one serialized story, and you
Right.
didn't really get to see. I mean, maybe next season now, but you didn't get to see much, exploring,
Yeah.
which would have,
Go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
that would have been good. If I'd thought about it, I would have wanted to see, you know, but they didn't deliver on anything like that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, when I went into this season, I was expecting it to be better than season 3 because I thought season 3 was a complete nightmare.
Yeah.
I thought that the idea that I thought that the concept of the burn, I actually was like, that's a
Mm.
solid idea,
Yeah.
something that takes out all these ships' warp drive and destroys half the ships in the universe or whatnot. And then, they're trying to figure out what it was. And then you find out it's just, some kid with, Down syndrome screaming and he blows up the universe. And I'm all like, well, what is that nonsense? I'm like, Daddy doesn't want any of this going on and everything. And then this season, they did the whole thing that they've done, every season where there's one big thing that's going to destroy the universe. And you're all like, why don't you guys try to do something different? Like maybe, like you said, explore a little bit, kind of get back to the grassroots of what Star Trek is. And I just feel like they failed miserably. Like I could not handle any of this. Yeah. So in saying that, do you think they lived up to your expectations, or as you said, your hopes
No, I mean,
in any way?
well, well, again, I think they came up with a good concept in the idea of 10C and a species that communicates completely differently than we're used to. I mean, we've seen that before with Darmok on the Next Generation, where the whole basis for communication was metaphor and they had to work through that. So it's not new, but it's certainly better than what they've come up with on Discovery before. So I like that. The problem is they get bogged down in trying to take it to 13 episodes.
Hmm.
I think this whole thing would have worked much better as like a two-parter. Would have been much stronger. Um, but yeah, it just wasn't good. That's not good.
Right on. Yeah, they did not. Yeah, they didn't live up to any of my expectations because I expected to be good and it wasn't. Yeah, no, I just yeah, no. I was hoping that they wouldn't do another something's going to destroy the universe and everything, and they didn't. They went back to their staple. I feel like the writers room, there's just one person that comes up with something. They're just like, "Oh, you guys, I got it. There's a species that's they're mining bromite in the universe, but it's destroying planets." And they're like, "Cheryl, you've got this season. Look at you, Cheryl. We're not even going to try anything else because you've got it." And I'm all like, maybe Cheryl needs to be told, no, it's just a bad idea. Maybe American Idol this crap and be all like, get a panel of judges, like some Trekkers, and be like, no, Cheryl, you're out. Bye, kind of thing. You're not going to Starfleet. Yeah, I did not like it.
I didn't think
I
the idea was so bad. Not to cut you off. I didn't think the
No, go
idea
ahead.
was so bad. It comes down to the execution.
Absolutely.
And I think like I said, it would have worked better as a 2-episode story, maybe. Because we've
Right.
seen, like I said, stuff like that before. Darmok was a similar thing, and it worked because it was one episode, beginning, middle, end, done. And when they try to stretch it out to 13 episodes, not only do you get filler, but I think what happens with these writers a lot of times they work backwards.
Hmm.
They know they have a concept in mind. They're trying to get to a certain endpoint. And I don't know how dissimilar that is from all writing, but I think maybe they do it a little too much in terms of working backwards. They had to come up with Tarka, which, his whole storyline is absurd because if you go back to season 1, the mycelial network bridges universes. That's, if I'm not mistaken, how they got into and out of the mirror universe.
Yeah. No, you're
So if,
right. That is
yeah,
how they did it.
right. So if his friend there is in another universe, getting there is as simple as jumping.
Yeah. Which, you brought that up. I'm going to write it down. We're going to talk about that later because I have so many thoughts on that. But yeah, no, you're right. I think you've got something there with the fact that they work backwards.
Yeah. Yep.
So in saying that, do you what are some likes that you have about this season?
Yeah. I think they introduced a good character with Book last season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that they've always handled him well. I have issues with, the idea of a starship captain having a steady Eddie, as it were. I don't think that fits. I don't know. They've toyed with that on the other shows. Cisco, not Cisco. Well, no, yeah, he did because his wife died, but then he had the other lady on Deep Space Nine, and it was fine and everything. But I don't think they handled the line between personal and professional very well.
Mm.
Despite that, I think he was a good character. And this season, I don't think we can deny that he had a great arc. He went through something traumatic. He started to kind of try to deal with it, but it didn't work out. And he kind of veered off course, as people do when they experience, serious trauma. And then in the end, they brought him full circle and he came back from it. And I think they did at least a competent job in terms of that whole component of the overall story. And I certainly think the actor did a great job with it. I forget his name, but I thought he did a great job with it. So I was glad to see that. What else was good? Like I said, I think the 10C was a good thing that they came up with. I think they just didn't do it justice, really and truly. The closest they got to that was the last 2 episodes where you see the crew exploring, how do these people communicate and how are we ever going to communicate with them? And and find a common set of conditions that we can relate to each other over. It reminded me of Deep Space Nine trying to always communicate with was it prophets or gods in the wormhole? I can't remember, but the Bajoran entities that sort of ran the wormhole were very different from humanoids. And so there was always that sort of gulf between how, our heroes operated and how they operated. And they had that one episode where they played baseball, and it all came out that, while we're linear, they're not linear. So that was very interesting. And I thought this was kind of their version of that. It was, again, similar to Darmok. So I thought those two episodes were done really well. It felt like Star Trek to me. It felt like good sci-fi to me. I liked the episode where they were trapped in the dark area, that void that they went into, and they couldn't figure out how to get out of it. I thought the pacing and the ping-ponging back and forth, the problem solving worked well. So I liked that one. There was one other thing I was going to say about what episode was good. Oh, a couple of episodes ago when they had Discovery competing with Book's ship, Book was trying to get to the power source for Tarka, and Discovery was trying to stop him, or they were trying to do their own thing at the same time. And so you had this sort of chess match between Michael and Book across the void of space, where they're trying to not only accomplish their own goals or stop the other one from accomplishing their goal, but do it without hurting each other, which was cool. And because they knew each other so well, you got to see sort of how they were anticipating what the other one would do, and that either worked or didn't work. And they would cut back and forth during that whole thing, and I thought that was well done. But these kind of highlights are few and far between on this show. That's the problem.
Right on. Well, I have to say right now, the things I liked about it was, well, first that it ended, because I can only, take so much. And then I did like the character of Gray going away. I thought that this character,
yes,
this character, I honestly believe this character added nothing to this show whatsoever, even in season 3. And I was just like, every time they showed up, it was like, all they did was like, they were like a mouthpiece for Zora, but I'm all like, Zora can talk. I don't see why they need you around to be all like, we're here to talk for her. Or why? She's right here. And I don't understand Zora, how she's so dumb, but yet she's got all this intelligence from across the universe. And I'm all like, why are you so dumb? Like, I finally feel seen. I don't see you because you're just a voice. I don't think you know how eyes work and sight works. There's a lot of too much nonsense going on in this show. And I'm like, listen, Farscape is a completely different show. I don't need it in this one. So maybe if you guys could get your sci-fi together. That's all I have to say. I don't have.
Can I tell you what I didn't understand about Gray?
Yeah, tell me.
They kill the character when it's introduced. Then they immediately bring it back in the form of, the Adira like hallucinates them or whatever.
Yeah.
Or is able to communicate with them in their head. And then they brought them back corporeally in a body. And I was thinking, why did you kill? I mean, maybe they didn't know where they were going to go, but like, why did you kill them in the first place if you're going to bring them back? And then if you didn't know that in the first place, okay. But then when you decided to bring them back, why didn't you go, you know what, that's dumb, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And then they got rid of them, which I'm with you was great. But like, it's like, tell me you screwed up with the whole concept of this character without telling me you screwed up with the whole concept of this character.
Right.
And then getting rid of the character was exactly that. Oops, didn't work. See ya. So just bad.
I don't even think it added to the character of what's her name? Or what's their name?
Talking about Adira?
Adira, yeah. Adira. I don't even think it added to that character. I don't think that they're just all like, oh, I miss Gray, they're in my head and everything, I love you, and I'm like, yeah, I don't get love from you two, I'm sorry, like there's no, like, you know, you two just seems more like besties than you do like lovers, because I'm all like, I don't, maybe this is a generational thing, but you two just seem very like not into each other romantically, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's zero chemistry.
So so now that we talked about your likes, what are what are some of your dislikes?
Oh God, we could be here forever. You know,
Oh yeah, I had to break it down to just three things because I was like, I could talk all day. Mm.
yeah, it's the. I mean, you know, just in an overall sense, I always say this in my reviews: the writers are 12.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and they certainly don't have anywhere near the amount of knowledge of Star Trek that they need to have, or for that matter, I think life in general. You don't have to know Star Trek specifically to know that there are certain things, certain behaviors that you would not see in a military type organization or an organization that has any kind of hierarchy whatsoever, where the people are officers and are supposed to conduct themselves with a certain amount of decorum, where they're
Absolutely.
right, where there are security protocols. You know, the whole episode where they were having that big meeting, there were multiple moments where it was like security is not a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Book and Tarka just beamed over from the not delegates room onto the delegate dais or whatever. He automatically was able to upload his little demonstration to the view screen. You know, it could have been a virus, could have been anything. No security protocols whatsoever. Then back on the ship, I think it was the same episode, you had Adira and Gray, one of whom isn't even Starfleet, bursting into the meeting with the, you know, I guess the second in command, Saru, the chief medical officer, I think was there, and the chief engineer was there, and glasses guy was there, Kovacs. Just with there's no security protocols, there's no military decorum, and it's been this way the whole time. They act like, I used to say, they act like they're on Melrose Place.
Oh, that's so funny.
You know, or in modern vernacular, a CW drama. There's no, they don't. So I have hated that from the beginning. I hated the whole Tarka thing because, as I was saying, you know, not only could he have asked, I mean, probably would have said, no, we're going to bounce everybody who wants to go to a different universe. We're going to do it for everybody. No. But, you know, the audience knows that Discovery can do that, jump to a different universe. So his whole storyline is absurd, especially past the point where he stole the second generation spore drive and could just have jumped to himself
Yeah.
with Book to where he's trying to go. And
Yeah.
so stupid.
Yeah, especially in that second to last episode where they vent the plasma to get out of that little orb, and I'm all like, well, if he's so smart, why didn't he just do what Discovery did with his little jump drive, his little spore drive? Because they used their spore drive to get out of there. They just were going to have to, you know, crawl home and stuff. And I'm like, well, why didn't he do that? I'm like, this show makes no sense for somebody that's like this one of the smartest people in the galaxy. He's not very bright.
No.
And I still want to talk about him because, what did you have any other dislike? Well, we'll go back and forth with dislikes because, well, okay. So, one thing that I had a problem with this season was having all the personal moments in big times of crises. You had Rice on the prison planet or asteroids that were connected by a jump rope. He's all like, oh, I want to help with it. And then in the middle of, he's just like, yeah, there was a hurricane or whatever. And I couldn't help anybody. We were trying to get everybody out. And then you had Owasakun when she was all like, I want to go help in engineering. And she's like, sit down. And she's all like, my family, you know, they had a problem with something or other. And you're all like, okay, now you want to talk about this and everything, right? We're about to, you know, miniaturize ourselves into the one thing. And then you had Dittmer, you know, she's like, me and my dad. And you're all like, you know what, Dittmer, maybe you can save this later for the doctor because we're trying to figure some stuff out, you know.
They did it, not to do everything, they did it even in the season finale, where they're in the middle of this crisis. And last week's episode as well, the penultimate one, where they're, you know, this big thing is happening. They're trying to communicate with 10C. It's crunch time. There's only so much time to save Earth. And then you get this scene where like Saru and Michael are like, gee, this is really
Yeah.
some
Ah.
we should scream at each other. Like, really, why are you having this conversation? It's crunch time. Get out of here with this.
Yeah, it really bothers me because it's just when you join Federation is like the best of the best. Like you train, you're like, the top of it's like everybody's the top of their class, but this show and well, old Trek, new Trek, it's just, and I read this article, it's more crying, less logic. And
Yeah,
so
right.
it's like these people, like you do the Kobayashi Maru, and it's you can't pass it because it's trying to prepare you to die. Like you're going to do whatever it takes to help out whoever you're helping out. And and you can't always win and everything. And this show, they're throwing that right out the window because they're just all like, hey, don't worry, you guys are gonna win, everybody's gonna survive, no one's gonna die unless they're a man, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's you know what, and you mentioned the prison planet on the jump rope, and I wanted to go back real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I made it something that I liked, because I thought this was good. And I do try to give them credit where it's deserved, because the hope is that they'll go, oh, they like that was actually good, let's do more of that. That's another example of how the serialization screws up this show. I thought that episode really had an aspect that examined the human condition, that said something. It had something to say, where that guy talks about, you know what, I didn't do anything wrong in terms of what they accused me of to put me in here, but I did do something wrong that nobody knows about. And if fate has it that I'm going to die, then I'm going to accept that fate. I'm not going to take the opportunity to escape. And then, Book reacts to that because he had just lost his planet and he didn't approve of it. He didn't think this guy should be left to die. Michael wasn't thrilled with it either, but she thought, we have to honor his wish. And it was a thing, and it was something that was worthy of examining. It reminded me of the episode, I can't remember the name of it, but that had David Ogden Stiers from MASH on Next Gen, where he's like 40 years old or whatever, and he has to go back to his planet to die, and they spend that whole episode examining ageism and the value of life no matter the stage of life. So I thought this sort of had echoes of that, and it could have been something, but they short shrifted it because it was just they scrunched it down to fit into this this one story arc. They didn't take the time to examine it. So that was the negative aspect, but the good part was it was something, if only they had carried it out. So I'd like to see more of that, I guess.
Right on. I agree with you. Yeah, to some extent, I do agree with you on that. What's something else that you disliked?
I find the thing that irritates me the most about this show is that they don't. There's no, less logic. Are you kidding me? There's no logic. Nothing makes any sense. The whole episode with Zora, where they're working out, trying to convince Zora to give them the coordinates. There are several moments in that episode where she tells them something and they take her word for it. They recognize on the one hand, this is dangerous. We can't have an AI that's this self-aware, connected to the system to the point where it could shut off the life support, if it has a bad day. And simultaneously, when she goes, well, here's a button. It'll destroy me if you get uncomfortable and you just want to destroy me. Just go ahead and push the button. So you should just be fine now. And they
I'd have been, as soon as she said this button, I'd be like, boom.
Right. But I mean, even if you're not going to do it immediately, you have to say at least, well, how can we trust you that this is what you say it is? And,
right.
And later they're going through her mind or whatever, and they find all these memories and evidence the fact that she dreams, and it convinces them that she's super nice. And she could be showing you anything. Why would you believe anything she tells you for 1 second? It was just absurd to me. And not to mention the fact that that whole idea of robots or AI dreaming was depicted as a positive, which is fine. They're free to do that. But the fact of the matter is, uh, Asimov covered that ground decades ago about AI dreaming, and it was not good the way the way he envisioned it. And it even carried over to the movie I, Robot, with this whole thing about robots dreaming. And I think they made a little bit better in that than it turned out in the original Asimov concept. But, you know, here they are standing on the shoulders of giants, literally, talking about AI, which is, you know, Asimov, you may as well say, is the father of that whole robotics thing in sci-fi, and they contradicted it completely, which again, they're free to do. They're not bound by anything Asimov did, but like, talk about sheer bleeping hubris.
Right.
Like, so that just went right up my rear end, that whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
The next thing on my dislike list, because like I said, I had to narrow it down because I had so many. Was this, and this show in general has a huge problem with this, but I just felt like this season just kind of just threw it into overdrive. And I honestly feel that there is no accountability whatsoever for not following orders. I think that Michael Burnham has been a problem the entire show. She has done nothing but, and like you said, if this was, a military complex, like the Navy, when you don't follow an order, you go to the brig and then you get, tried and all that stuff. And you might have to leave the Navy or whatnot, or go to jail or whatnot, or prison or whatnot. I'm not 100% how they do things. I'm not in the armed forces, but in this show, it's like, you don't have to follow orders. You can disobey orders at the drop of the hat, and it's okay. It's fine. You're going to actually be rewarded for it because we're going to promote you. It just feels like everybody's failing upwards. And I bring that up because, like I said, Michael Burnham, and then you get, General Nadoye at the end, where she totally helped out the bad guys, and I did bring this up on Twitter, and somebody had said something about the lines of that United Earth wasn't a member of the Federation, but I still just go, you're still helping out the bad guys. What if that hadn't worked out, that you stopped the the NC-17 race and they destroyed Earth and Navarre, and now you've got all these dead people, and you've got this woman who helped them out in destroying it. I just go, and then Book, he's totally a villain in this, even though he was, being nudged along by Tarka, but he essentially gets community service. I'm like, he gets to go to Europa and, I don't know, how, bury plants or whatever. I don't know what he has to do, but it's community service. And I just go, what's going on here? This is nonsense. Like, you guys need to, like you said, they're probably 12-year-olds, they just, you get a little time out and then you're good to go. And I'm like, no, put them on that prison planet, those asteroids, put them on that planet. They don't deserve to be walking around willy nilly. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And, all these people should be fired.
Yeah, they easily could have shown her facing some consequences within her own hierarchy.
For sure. Yeah. She's still a general.
Right. And really, it doesn't even matter. She still essentially committed a crime against the Federation.
Yeah.
And like, like anything else, if you're not from Texas, but you break the law in Texas, guess what? Texas is going to talk with you. They're going to have something to say.
Right.
About it. So it doesn't even matter that she wasn't, Earth wasn't part of the Federation. They still should have been able to, put her away, but no.
Right. I'm just like, whatever. So, what was another dislike that you had?
Oh, wow.
If you don't have anything with school, you can have some time to think.
I can't think of it. It's just so, like, it all stems from the same stuff. Whatever I might come up with, all stems from the fact that the writers don't know Star Trek. They don't have enough, I think, life experience, and they just write stuff that doesn't. They shouldn't be writing Star Trek. They shouldn't be writing anything about a hierarchy. They shouldn't be writing about anything that's, would have a security protocol. They just, anything I could come up with stems from that. And, I think, and you brought up Gray and Adira and all that. That was bad. I agree with you there. Tilly, we can't not talk about Tilly. She, that episode where she was on that planet with the spiders, she just always has behaved, and it was on full display in this episode, like a camp counselor. She was like a camp counselor to those kids, not someone in a leadership position in a serious organization. And so the fact they sidelined her after a few episodes, I thought was great. And I kind of feel bad saying that. I think Mary Wiseman is a cool person from what I can tell. She gets a lot of crap for her appearance, which is unacceptable, but that's a whole different story. And I even like Tilly the person. Tilly the Starfleet officer is horrible.
Yeah.
So it drove me crazy. So I was glad that they sidelined her because she's just not good.
Oh yeah, I agree. They didn't sideline enough people in this show. And the thing is, I liked Tilly in season 1, and I think season 2, I can't remember, but after that, I was just like, yeah, go away. I don't need you here anymore, because her character just became, I don't know, annoying. I felt like it was more like, like they were just babysitting her instead of like having someone competent around. And I have to be honest, I felt like the whole, like them getting rid of her, like, I don't know why she left the show. Maybe they wanted her out. Maybe she wanted to leave. I'm not quite sure, but like, and I have to say this, well, we'll talk about this in a minute, but they wrapped up her storyline in such a weird way. Like all of a sudden she's just like, yeah, I've always wanted to teach. And I'm all like, did she always want to teach? Where did this come from? Because I don't remember her saying anything about teaching. And then, and then you got moments where she's like, I don't have that many regrets. And I'm like, didn't you talk about you and your mom had a crazy relationship? How she was always like pushing you to do this, this, and this and everything. I was like, don't you regret shit like that? Don't you regret not trying to communicate with your mom? I don't know. Anyways, but I'm glad they sidelined her. They didn't sideline enough people in this show. Like, I'm just like, they tried too hard to make us care about the bridge crew, and I'm like, it's already too late, guys. You're 4 seasons in. Oh, one thing I did want to talk about. But I talk about with my dislikes, if you don't mind if I go back to the one where I talk about those small personal moments. Yeah. The thing about those small personal moments, and I didn't like them because they were so short, and B, they took place at a big crisis event. Yeah. I go, if you want to have these moments where we talk about, Lieutenant Rice and the fact that, he was trying to usher people out with a hurricane. I can't remember if that was his or Owasakun's story, but if you want to talk about that stuff, make that a whole episode. Because the thing about, for instance, Generation or Deep Space Nine, and I know these are shorter seasons, but each character kind of got like their own episode where you discovered more about them, where you got to learn a little bit more about them. I was like, if you want us to care about this bridge crew, and I have to write down their names because I don't even remember off the top of my head. If you want us to care about these people, you got to make it to where you have it where it's not all the Michael Burnham show. Because even though every captain is the main character of the show, they still took time to care about the people around them.
Absolutely.
So, because like this, in this show, any one of these assholes could die, and I don't care. I literally don't care. I think more of them need to die because I feel like that would be more of an emotional substance that I'd like to see from maybe Michael Burnham. Because right now there's more crying, but it's stuff, stupid stuff like, I don't know if I can handle this. Oh, and you're all like, all right. Like when Book died at the end, I was like, no, they should have him die. I feel like that would be more of an emotional something of substance she can deal with next season. Like maybe she's too afraid to fall in love again because she doesn't want to lose him or something like that. But I'm all like, in this case, I'm all like, well, it doesn't matter. There's no threat of losing these people. And I say good, because I don't care anymore. um Now I could just do my last dislike thing. And if there's anything else you want to talk about how you dislike, by all means, have at it. But even though you liked it, and I do kind of like it, but I want to just the outcome with species 10C. Now, I, like you said, I liked the whole their communicating thing. I do feel like it went on way too long.
Yeah.
And like they were all like, ooh, give it back. And then when they were spinning the thing, and then they've got all these like, hormones and shit flying around. One's red, one's yellow and everything. And I'm all like, this is fine. And then you got that Asian guy who's a communication expert, but that asshole couldn't figure out. You needed a team of idiots to figure it out. And I'm all like, well, what's going on? This is too much. Like each episode I felt like could have been busted down by 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And when it comes to 10C, I knew it would be a complete nothing burger, or at least I felt it was. And I know that you watch Prodigy, Star Trek Prodigy, which I have to admit, I do like that show. I don't think it's Star Trek, but it doesn't feel Star Trek to me, but I do like it. That's the thing. I like that show. I don't review it because I don't have enough time for that nonsense. But there was an episode in there where they went to a planet and they had to communicate with sound and everything, this like sand planet, and there was like crystals or something. I can't remember exact details. And I was like, you know what, this is actually, I do like that idea of trying, and like you said, you brought up Darmok and everything. I do like that concept. But the thing about this is, and like you said, the execution for everything in this show is just ridiculously bad. I just think that these writers are just not good at what they do. I don't think that they're good at what they do. Was there anything else you want to talk about specifically that you disliked on this show?
I mean, it gets, you can get really granular on some of this stuff. And again, it all stems from the fact that they don't know what they're doing. But one thing that went right up my rear end is that going back to the episode with Tilly, where she says, I'm going to teach, and that whole mission on the planet, the Discovery was at Navarre. And I don't know, I might be stepping in it here, because now we know the Starfleet headquarters can fly, but
because of reasons.
Right. You go back to Star Trek, the motion picture, at the end, they've just finished rescuing Earth. They're at Earth, and Scotty says, we can have you back on Vulcan in 4 days, Mr. Spock.
Right.
It's 4 days away from Earth.
Right.
So now Discovery can jump, but they didn't say Discovery jumped her to Earth to go on that mission. They didn't say that they jumped back to Earth to pick her up. Yet from one scene to the next, boop, she's on Discovery, boop, she's at Starfleet headquarters. And they don't say that Starfleet headquarters went and picked her up. So how did she get there? So a dumb little nerdy nitpick, but again, a symptom of the larger disease, which is they don't know what they're doing. That's just another example of it. They no mention of the time difference between where Earth is and Vulcan. And it's 1,000 years in the future, but they're not telling us that ships go faster than warp 9, that shuttles go faster than warp 9. So how did she make a 4-day trip instantaneously in one episode? It's just
no, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, no, it's crazy. All right, so now I want to move over to asking you how you felt about the ending. I know you had said that you liked that last episode, but how did you feel about the ending, like the outcome and everything, like overall?
It was never going to be anything but a happy ending, right? They were never going to say, no, now we're at war with 10C and that's what next season is going to be. It was always going to be, hey, we fixed it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I think that would have been the case with any show. Well, I don't know. Another show might have taken that as a jumping off point for like a war thing for next season. But anyway, you knew they were going to wrap it up. You knew it was going to be a happy ending. So I thought that was fine. But it was too sort of pat and too quick considering they spent 13, 12 other episodes getting to this point. It was a lot of hand wringing for the whole season. And then they figure out how to talk to them. They have one conversation, fixed.
Right.
And like, really, I just,
yeah.
But, and the rest of the ending, I thought, it's funny because we know they're doing season 5. We know they're doing 10 more episodes. But, if something were to happen to that, if they came back and said, you know what, we're not actually going to do it, fingers crossed. The way it ended was a good series wrap up.
Right. I agree.
No, the Federation is back to itself. There you see these tons and tons of ships. Everybody's kind of in a good place. And the monologue at the end was good. And if the show ended there, it would have been a good series wrap for a not so good series. So I liked it in that way, the ending. But again, it was too pat in terms of the specifics, and it is what it is, I guess. But
right on. I couldn't agree with you more. I also agree. I felt like they took a whole season to tell a story, and then they just wrapped everything up in one episode, just like so quick. And there's that saying, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And I was like, even the journey sucked. It was no good. And you had brought it up, but I want to talk about Tarka. This is just one example, but Tarka and his whole storyline was like, he found this kid, and I don't know, some people were saying like it was a gay relationship, but I got more of like a father-son relationship out of it. But I mean, I guess that's however you interpret it. And you could argue either way, and I'll just agree with you because I don't care. But how you put it. But then at the end, they're all like, he's gone. And I'm like, what do you mean he's gone? Like, he's dead? No, there's no explanation for anything. And then Tarka gets sucked into that little black hole, and I'm like, there's no explanation for everything. They just wrap it up in a dumb bow, and it's not even like a good bow. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like I don't understand that. It's so stupid. And like,
I mean, to sort of augment your point, they spent the whole season trying to talk him down.
Yeah.
And then nothing different happened at the end. He just finally went, oh yeah, I guess I've kind of been a jerk. I'll stop.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Yeah. And it also gets me, as I love how Book, that little idiot, it took Tig Notaro to tell him, hey, he's gonna betray you, to him figure out. And I'm like, you didn't get that when he zapped the little device into the DMA? You didn't get that first time? Shame on fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But I'm all like, how about fool me once and I don't fall for that crap again? Okay, how about that? Because
he did it multiple times.
Yeah, I just go, you can't be trusted. So why am I trusting you? Like, it's so dumb and everything. Speaking of, I just want to say real quick, also speaking of Tarka, the explanation of stuff is so weird. And maybe they did explain it, and I just, because I only watched the episode once, but I like how they, Owasakun was all like, I don't know if I can, whoever the pilot was, that would ram their ship, and she's like, I don't know if I can teleport them out and everything. And yet when it was Detmer, it couldn't do. But once it was that General Nadoye, she could teleport her out. And then the two dudes on the other ship, they couldn't teleport them out. And I'm all like, why couldn't they teleport them out? Because I'm like, it would have been, for me personally, it would have been way more satisfying to see Tarka brought to justice than to see him sucked into a little black, whatever that was. I'm just like, and then them not explaining his little, love relationship. I'm just like, what's going on here? Like, this show is just so stupid. It's so dumb. And yeah.
And then although 10C intercepted Book's transport, but not Tig Notaro's.
Oh yeah, I have huge problems with the species 10C because I don't understand how they're so smart that they can create this big machine that will suck in bromide or whatever from the universe, but they can't, and they can create this force field to protect themselves.
You're right.
But they can't scan for intelligent life, sentient beings on planets, or they can't scan for and there's no other way to get bromide except for just, and they can't go out and figure out what the effects of what they've done to the universe after they've done it. And I'm just like, what's going on here? It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Although I do have to say, I am super happy that the president of Navarre and Saru finally lost their virginity to each other. I was very happy about that. I was rooting for them. I don't know how that works with two different species. I don't know how they birds and bees it, but hopefully, obviously it worked because they were looking at each other like very satisfied at the end, very satisfied.
Which I don't get, not only because they're different species, but since when, like, what is the, I don't know. But Vulcan women, I guess, are different from Vulcan males. They don't have that thing where they can only do the deed every 7 years.
Oh yeah. That's another point. Like you're just like, what's going on here? What's going on? Okay, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, my next question for you for this season is there anything that in your mind they could have done to make this season better?
What could they have done to make it better?
Besides not writing.
Right. Like I said, I think they could have explored that situation with the guy on the prison planet more than they did. I think they could have made more of that than they did. They gave it short shrift. So I didn't think that was good. What could they have done?
Like for me, go ahead. You go.
If I don't see, I don't know if Mary Wiseman wanted to leave the show, if there was something going on there, but as I said, I like Tilly as a person, and they've tried to sort of level her up over the seasons, but if they had taken a different tack with her and really matured her up, I think she could have been good. I think for sure that would have been an improvement to season 3. It would have been an improvement to season 4. So, that's something they could have done, I think, to improve it. Just in general, I think the way to improve this show is knock it off with the serial arcs, the serialized arcs.
I couldn't agree more.
It should be episodic. They should be doing allegorical stories. It should be A to B to C, in and out. If you want to stretch something to 2 or 3 episodes to really explore it, okay. But really, until they ditch that whole thing, they're never going to improve this show in any, I don't think, meaningful way. I just don't think it can be done.
Yeah, I was going to say the episodic, they need to be episodic, because I think that's something that, and like you said, with this whole Species 10C, 2 episodes, maybe 3, and then and just wrap that up, kind of thing. Right. But like you said, it's like one story for a whole season, and I just go, maybe you could, because they kind of did that with like Deep Space Nine with the Klingon War, and then you went to the Dominion War and everything, and they kind of did that. And you had the whole thing with the prophets and stuff like that. But I still feel like with those, you still had, episodes inside that whole thing. Like, for instance, that episode with Tilly and the cadets, that could have been a good episode, but it wasn't written well. And I just go, you guys, and like you said, I don't think that these people have a knowledge enough about Star Trek. And this is coming from somebody like, I'm not even somebody that like, I have a friend who I always go to because he hates these shows. He hates them. Like, because I'll be like, hey, what was that episode where, Cisco and his son got on that little ship and they were going to Bajor or to Cardassia, and he's like, season 3, episode 14. I'm like, how do you know? And they'll be like, it's called this, this, and this, and everything. And I was like, how do you know this? And he's like, how do you not know this and everything? I've tried to get him to do videos with me, but he wants nothing to do with YouTube. But
it's funny because I used to be that guy.
Oh, see, and I go, listen, I go, that's a knowledge that I don't have, that I wish I did. I have to look everything up, because they'll mention stuff in the shows and I'll be like, oh, that sounds familiar. And I'll have to look it up. Like, oh yeah, and everything. But sorry, I was going to get to a point. They just need to stop doing these big overarching storylines and just try to, they could do that. But like I said, still fit in these one-off episodes to where, you know, somebody like myself goes, all right, this is how it feels, you know, Star Trek feels to me and everything.
Right.
So what do you look forward to for season 5?
Well, you know, I'm glad it's a shorter season.
Yes,
I think that's going to give them an opportunity to not have all of this crazy filler stuff. They just go down a lot of rabbit holes
for
with
sure.
with these 15 and 13 episode seasons. So 10 episodes, maybe they'll tighten it up. Um, with any luck, they'll do some kind of exploring versus this whole thing like where you said where it's always this big bad thing that's going to destroy the galaxy. Started with the Klingon War, it moved to the control, you know, was going to destroy everything. It moved to the burn, and then you know the DMA. And I just stop doing that. You know, with any luck, they'll just explore and move away from that. I anticipate being disappointed on that, but that's what I would hope they would do. They left it at the end of season 4 where they it's a jumping off point to where they could do exactly that. So the naive part of me is hoping they will, but I expect to be entirely disappointed.
Right on. Yeah, no, I think that they haven't explored this future
Yeah,
universe enough, because where are the Klingons? You know, what happened with them? Where are, you know, they have the Ferengi in here, but where are the Ferengi? Are they still all about the acquisition and everything and all the rules and stuff? You know, where are, you know, you have the Federation president, you know, she's half Cardassian, but what about the Cardassians? What happened to them this whole time? You know, they don't explore any of this. You know, the wormhole, can they still get to the Delta Quadrant? Can they still get, the Borg? Are the Borg ever going to show up? You know, it's you know, besides in Picard, you know, what is going on here, and why are you guys only focusing on this stuff? It's stuff that doesn't matter. Like, I wish they would have just destroyed Earth in this last episode to get it out of the way. Like, you know, I don't know. There's no high stakes. So, but I'm not looking forward to season 5. I'm not looking forward to it. I think season 4 broke me a little bit. Picard is kind of putting my faith a little bit back into new Trek. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. So, in my last question for you, do you have any hope for future Star Trek?
Yeah, call me naive, but I am
Hi, naive.
I am hopeful that Strange New Worlds could get it right. The buzz on that is they're going to actually try to be more episodic. They're going to try to be more hopeful in terms of it being a hopeful future. We've heard that particular thing before and it didn't pan out, but there's always a possibility that they'll carry through. I think Anson Mount was great as Pike. You know, so uh, I'm I'm hopeful that I'm looking forward to Star Trek for the first time in a long time based on Strange New Worlds. The thing about it is, at the same time, it's fraught with the possibility of messing up a lot of crap because, you know, we don't know anything about Pike's story except for one or two fixed points. We don't know anything about number one, like at all, but we do know a lot about Spock and we know a lot about the Enterprise and we know a lot about the state of the Federation in that period. So there's equal opportunity for them to mess crap up as there is opportunity for them to tell good stories in that time period and fill in, you know, Pike's story. I think they missed a huge opportunity to make number one the captain of Discovery at the beginning of season 3. They could have had her go to the future and captain the ship. I think that's a character we know nothing about. It's a strong character just from the one appearance it had in the original, series. Rebecca Romaine is great. They could have made her captain. Even if they ended up with Michael at the end, we could have had that for a season. They didn't do it. So second bite at the apple, we might get some good stuff there. But between the fact that there's a lot they could mess up and the fact that the writers have shown that they're horrible over and over again, it's like a, it's hopeful, but in a white knuckling kind of way, like, like, oh, I hope it's good. But we don't know. So
right on. See, now you say naive, call me a pessimist, but I have no hope for future Trek. I have zero hope whatsoever. I think it's all going to burn. Picard, like I said, Picard is starting to turn me, but I don't know. I've been let down too many times to get my hopes up. I guess I'm hoping for the best, but I'm expecting the worst, and it's probably going to happen. But yeah. I just don't. I have no hope. They've this season, like I said, I think it ruined me because or broke me because I don't know. I don't think it's going to be good. I just don't. I don't know. It's already poisoned the soil for me.
Yes. So that's that. I'll be back with another video soon. Until then, once again, I say peace and long life.
All right, you guys. So that is our Star Trek Discovery Season 4 review. Tell us, what did you guys think about all of this? Did you like this season? Did you not like this season? Did you, have some concerns about some stuff going forward? What was your favorite episode? Who's your favorite character? All that good stuff. Head over to Barry's channel. It's actually really fun. He does some breakdown of some episodes and everything. It's a super good time. I will leave all the links in the description down below. Go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on the next review. You guys have a good day. Live long and prosper. Bye.